Well, howdy everybody, and welcome back to another edition of the Dirty and Driven Podcast. My name is James DeVinny. I am your host. This is the show where our mission is to bring people to the blue-collar world and teach them how to kick ass. We believe that we need to gain, train, and retain more people in the blue-collar industries. Specifically here, we speak about the construction trades, but we speak all things blue-collar. If you're new here, then I just want to say that our main mission is to bring people into the trades because we're faced with a severe labor shortage that's only going to get worse. And we need blue-collar people for everything we do. So, if you want to learn more about this, check us out on any social media platform at Dirty and Driven, mainly active on Instagram and TikTok. If you want to learn more about us ourselves as well, check out our website, dirtyanddriven.com, and reach out to us if you want to. If you like the show, give us a 5-star review, and you can DM, email, or message us on our website, the word sticker, and we'll send you a free sticker anywhere in the world. No cost to you at all. Today, guys, I'm joined by two awesome guests and my wonderful, talented co-host, Casey. Our guests are Cory Goodno, who works pipeline construction for Phillips 66, and Hank Hanzinger, who's an old school cowboy. And we talk about a lot of things: construction, dozer work in the oil field, and a lot about rodeo. These two guys just put on a huge rodeo and are currently in the process of doing it as this show drops. But great rodeo, and they've been working really hard, so they talk a lot about that as that's kind of their passion. Anyways, guys, drink you some Gold Buckle beer. We did this episode. It was great. I met up with the Gold Buckle beer girls, Maddie and Kelsey. Two amazing people. Give that beer a shot. You'll hear more about it in the show. Anyways, guys, give us a follow. Give us a review. We love you guys. Thank you for the growth that we've had so far. Here's the show.
Well,
James, what do you have in front of you cracked open?
right in front of me, cracked open, is a Gold Buckle beer, the official sponsor of the 101 Wild West Rodeo, and today's sponsor, the Dirty and Driven Podcast, baby.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
That's what I'm talking about.
So if they're sponsoring us, that means that the only goodness we're getting out of it is probably just being able to have a couple.
Yeah, well, I got a beer and I got a koozie, and that's good enough for me for a sponsorship.
That's good enough for me too, man.
It's called beer.
Free beer.
Free beer.
Yeah, we talked about what's the best beer, free beer. What's the best thing? The best beer, it's free beer, and the second best thing is cold beer.
Yeah.
So
But the best thing is the FREE, free.
yeah,
FRE.
it's free. It's for me.
It's free. It's for me. Yeah.
That's correct. Cool. Well, yeah, tell us about this beer. You told us about a second ago before the show fired up, but for the listeners.
Well, Gold Buckle beer. This is what they call super light, and then there's a Gold Buckle original, and my preference is the light, which is really good. And the backstory on Gold Buckle beer is the guy that started Cinch jeans and shirts, which everybody knows what Cinch jeans are. He was an amateur brewer and took the amateur brewing to the next level and started brewing it and bottling it and became a sponsor of the PRCA.
Wow.
The Professional Rodeo Cowboys
That was in
Association.
2019. They're out of La Junta, Colorado.
Yep, they're out of La Junta, Colorado.
Wonderful stuff.
So the Cinch Jeans guy was just brewing beer for the hell of it, and then
Yeah,
just
he was
said,
just he's an amateur brewer and said, hell, let's go to the next level with this.
It's good. You might as well sell it, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, he's got the means, I guess, so he just said, jeans and beer, let's go.
Speaking of that,
Yeah.
I got it.
Oh, yeah.
Pop
Get
the
that
top
right in the
again.
mic, baby. Let's go.
Yeah,
Now-
pop the top.
Now that him getting into Cinch, what was it? What I mean, I know this is about a bunch of different things, but what got him into doing the Cinch outerwear?
Boy, now you got me somewhere. I don't know.
that's gosh, that goes.
Well,
way back.
I was just
Yeah.
curious if he had, because isn't that geared more towards
It's
Western.
It's Western wear. But
It's
they
Western wear.
They got athletic wear. They got.
Do they?
Yeah, I mean, they're starting to. Heck, we were in a Western store yesterday, and they had golf shirts, golf pants. They're spreading out.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I'm kind of a bigger guy myself, and I always like cinch jeans because they fit. Mm-hmm. The little bigger cut in the leg is the way they was cut. But
Yeah.
But cinch is they was kind of the first ones to start doing the style jeans. I mean, they'd done little things like in the flap, where it said cinch up, and put their name, done little things kind of out of the box a little bit. And I mean, people are doing. I mean, it's out of the box world now. I mean, anything goes.
Kind of like you remember the Lucky jeans? Is that still Lucky jeans? Or are those still a thing?
Oh, yeah.
I've seen them
Was
around.
it
Yeah.
the Shamrock or wasn't there a
Yeah,
clover?
They had on the pockets and such. Yeah, Cinch kind of that was the same way. Cinch and them were kind of the same time. They had it. Cinch had it on the zipper and
Instead of
Lucky had it on the pocket. I think it wasn't.
Well, it's good. I mean, it's good marketing.
Yeah.
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 Used to
get
go
your name
around
out
and
there.
say, "Man, I'm gonna get lucky tonight."
You know who does the best marketing? The damn Chinese, man. They put "Made in China" on anything my little man and I play with, like his little toys.
Yeah.
Anything, we'll turn it over, and sure enough, stamp "Made in China." Made in China. Now, granted, I want to try to purchase as much as I can made in the USA, but they got that
the
in your
hammer on
face.
that,
That's
buddy.
pretty hard.
Yeah.
They've got the hammer on it.
Well, I guess when you have just child labor, you can afford a better
Yeah.
marketing department.
And how in the hell did this all happen to us here in the United States? I mean, why did we go from we were the ones learning how to, designing and building and making all this stuff to outsourcing it, and we don't make anything now. I mean, and we was the smartest country in the world.
Yeah.
And now we're the largest consumer country in the world. And
It's because people get compromised. You get levels to where you can start manufacturing stuff, putting it out there. If you can do it cheaper, have less regulations. For example, you can pollute more across seas and not have regulations. You can get away with child labor as long as, don't ask, don't tell, don't see. You can produce the product a hell of a lot cheaper across seas than either fly it over or ship it over and send it here to where it's still cheaper than our tightly regulated United States that we live in. Mm-hmm. And it sucks. It sucks that we're not doing it here. They need to loosen up the regulations here, not only in the oil and gas industry especially, but just in general.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
In the farming industry, things and stuff in there, I mean, there's you get a chemical that'll kill a weed, and then before you know it, you can't use it because it might kill a goldfish somewhere if it gets in the stream, or I mean, it's just crazy. I mean, but the one thing that is good, this rodeo business that we do, is as wholesome as it can come. I mean, it is.
Brought it back.
It is as far back as we can go. I mean, you can go back to the 1800s, and we're still doing the same thing, trying to tame a horse down so you can ride him to town.
I think that's the ultimate of Americana whenever you look at the history of just going back a couple hundred years, back before electricity and stuff. You still, you had cattle and horses and just roughing it and getting the job done.
And it was all for a reason. I mean, you had the cattle and you worked the ground and you grew the grass to make the cattle, get big, and then in turn you ate the protein to let your body live and thrive. I mean, it was a circle that was a perfect circle.
Yeah, and a community too.
Love beef.
Yeah,
Love
eat
beef.
Eat beef.
Yeah,
Eat
buddy.
Eat beef.
Eat beef.
Eat beef. That's the title of this podcast. Eat beef.
Love it. Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah. So cool. Well, Cory, you're also you work in the pipeline industry, right?
I do. I work for Phillips 66 as a maintenance coordinator. I've been doing that 20 years. We move a lot of product all the way across the country. Heck, it starts there with Casey, and then we take it everywhere else.
So Casey hits the button, but what do you do?
So we go out and everything from put the pipe in the ground to whenever we're done with it, we take it out of the ground.
Oh yeah. So
Everything in between.
So you fix the pipelines and stuff like that, or build them, or
Yep. If there's a bad spot in the line, we fix it. If there's a leak, we fix it. We clean it up. We put it back better than it was.
So are you regional or do you travel a lot?
I would like to say I'm regional, but I've been to Louisiana, Texas.
It's a big region,
It's
huh?
a big region. It gets pretty big sometimes, but
That's cool.
wherever the help's needed, that's usually where I go.
So are these lines usually like live when you're working on them, or do they shut them off? Or
No, they're live. Yeah, it costs too much money to shut them down.
yeah,
So yeah, we keep them up, and we run a certain amount of pressure to keep it to where you're not going to blow through as you're welding. You know, it's all engineered and all the smice of the pipe, and you know some of this pipe we're working on. You know, we got one line that runs from Ponca to Oklahoma City that was put in. Well, half of it. Let me say that half of it was put in 1936 and still operating.
that's insane.
Acetylene welded pipe, still a good line. So, yeah, and it's still rocks and rolls. Moves a lot of product.
90 years old.
Yeah, moves a lot of product to the Oklahoma City terminal.
Did they use all their wrap and their the electric
The cathodic protection.
all the cathodic protection and all that back then? No,
Nope.
it's still there.
And that, you know, a lot of that I was told was dug with axe and picks and
Shovels.
No kidding.
horses and mules and you know and all that, and it was the acetylene welded pipe. You know, I know you guys are going to get a visual here because I talk with my hands, but you know, as you're welding that with a torch in your hand and you got these big old rods, you're just shoving them in and basically melting them down and moving it on. These smart tools that we run on these lines, there's a lot of this that those smart tools will come out in pieces because those rods that they jammed in there.
That slag.
Well, it's not necessarily slag. It's the actual electrode that they shoved in there
Yeah.
to melt down. You know, they'd shove it in there and start. Well, they'd have, you know, an inch or two stuck off in there, and they'd just burn it on over.
Dang.
And it'll just go through that smart tool and rip that smart tool apart. But we've pretty much cut all those out nowadays. Yeah. There for the first 10 years running those smart tools, it's pretty rough to pull a smart tool out of that line because it was going to be in pieces when it come to us majority of the time. So,
Wow.
and those are multi-million-dollar tools. So them technicians did not like to see that when they come out in pieces. When we had that first one we ran, we picked a majority of that pig out in a strainer.
Really?
Yeah, they were not impressed with us.
But shouldn't the sizing tool that goes through the pipe, if that thing was dented or bent back, that at least give you an idea that there might be some crap in there?
It should, yeah. It normally does, but on that particular one, Casey, that was 20 years ago. That's a long time ago. It was
Slept since then.
yeah, and if I remember right, it come through and we told them that hey, the size and plates are a little goofy. They said, "Oh no, I'll run it. We're good." We picked that pig out in the strainer at Oklahoma City. It was come in pieces, all the fingers on it, but it held together. It did its job. We had all the data and we knew right where those were at, and we made a lot of people mad in Oklahoma City because we had to shut their roads down to their golf courses and their schools and all that stuff because we went in there and cut them welds out and put new pipe in. And
Wow. Casey and I talk about that sometimes. It's always hilarious whenever you have to shut down where somebody's going.
yeah, oh yeah,
Telling them you can't go this way. You have to go a different way for.
Was it 2 years ago? Was it had been? Yeah, 2021. We shut down 59th and Sooner Road. Sooner Road's a 4-lane road. We shut half of it down.
Oof.
And had it. We were only going to have it down for like a week. That's what we planned. And we get in there, and the sewer line, the city sewer had built their sewer line, or not their sewer, their city storm drain around our pipeline. And lo and behold, that bad spot that we were looking for, that the tool called out, was right in that city stormwater deal. So we had Sooner Road shut down for, I don't know, 3 weeks.
Oh crap!
And you know, every day when that Air Force base it's Air Force Base, Tinker Air Force Base
Tinker.
would let out. Oh, them guys, they hated our guts. It was traffic backed up for miles as far as you could see. Now when you pull up Google and there's red,
Yeah.
yeah. You can tell
You said I was red, baby.
you could tell our job site we had red for 4 ways. It was rough.
Now I'm obviously pro the oil and gas industry. My family was raised on it, and I'm in it also. And so we said before, pipelines are the safest way to transport product.
100%.
100%. And what Cory
Absolutely.
touched on there, we've touched on in the past. I kind of gave a 101 rudimentary deal on how we safely transport pipelines and inspect them and pressure test them and have leak detection and all this. People remember that product is going to get to market one way or the other. If you shut down the pipelines, then they're going to want to truck it or train it, and you have a lot more opportunity for leaks and issues if you're going to do it those other two ways.
Oh yeah.
Right.
So
I mean, it just takes a truck driver to fall asleep, and not speaking bad about the trucking industry because they're wonderful people, but it's human error.
But look how many trucks
There
and
are.
even rail cars you have to
Absolutely.
take to move the volume that you can in a pipeline that is constantly monitored.
Yeah, constantly monitored. Pressure in, pressure out, meter in, meter out. If that doesn't, I mean, there's minute changes, and they call it out. They'll shut the line down and stand it up and pressure test that line.
One time and this is a little technical talk, I was pressuring up a prover out at work, and I forgot to call the control center.
Oh yeah.
And I opened it. I didn't put the heat to it, but I cracked the valve
Yeah.
pretty good. And that extra volume ticking through that meter on my side, this was the origination, not the destination, but the origination. That extra spinning flow rate, I immediately got a call, and they were wanting to shut down. And I was like, hey, I forgot to let you all know I was pressuring up a
Right,
prover.
yeah.
My bad.
My bad.
But it doesn't take much.
That's how tight tolerances
Oh, yeah.
those things can monitor.
And we went through a schedule with these smart tools that we talked about there. It used to be a 5-year run. You run them every 5 years. Now it's every 3 years. So they've brought it back, and we run them more often. We run more types of them. It's not just your standard technical term, the MFL tool, which was picking up your dents and your corrosion and stuff like that. Now we got UT tools that are checking the thickness, the wall thickness, all that all the way through there. It checks lamination, and then there's a crack tool. If that line, because them seams are all welded together. So if that seam had because the lines, when you start them and stop them, those seams.
The pressure cycles on
Yeah,
them.
pressure cycles.
Hydraulics.
Can work on them seams. So you run that crack tool, and they'll tell you if there's a potential for that seam to start to come loose, and that's what we do. We'll go out and, gosh, I think the longest sleeve that we've put on was, I think it was 680 feet, all continuous.
Oof.
Had 14 welders on top of the
That's
ditch.
a long sleeve, man.
Yeah.
Holy
Wow.
crap.
Yeah, that was out. That was on Lino out.
Well, they cut it out, or they couldn't.
No,
let
you
the
couldn't
line
cut it
down.
out. You cut it out, you shut Borger Refinery down.
Wow.
Yeah. So you don't cut it out. You just call more welders.
So you're responsible for a lot of high profile stuff, aren't you, Cory?
Sometimes.
Sometimes.
Yeah. Not all the time, but sometimes. Sometimes it gets pretty hairy.
Yeah.
Yeah. It gets it. With me, I don't know. It's not adrenaline, but challenging.
Yeah.
The harder it gets, the more I like it.
Yeah.
So
That's fun, man.
it's challenging. I think is what I like out about it. So
Yeah. So are you like more of an operator or just like a project manager or what what's kind
I
of your
guess you could say more of a project manager than
Yeah.
anything. We have I got a contract crew that works for me every single day, 365 days a year, but we've had some struggles with that this year, but that's neither here nor there. That's,
But you obviously didn't start at that position. You worked your way probably from the grunt,
yeah,
moving your way up, huh?
You were down in that hole for a few years, I bet.
Goodness gracious! I started as a welder. I started out there right out of high school. I went to Tulsa Welding School, and got out of there. And Owen Greer, he used to be the contractor out there. That was the main contractor, and he lived right down the road from Dad. And I was late. I'd been out drinking all night long. So on Saturday morning, I remember him coming in, and he's come in the bedroom. Get up! I need pipe welded up. I'm thinking, good Lord, Owen. Okay. So we went down South Tank Farm. We welded up. Gosh, we welded up 400 or 500 foot of 12-inch pipe that day, and I never left. I've been there ever since. But I worked as a contractor for 3 years, welding for a little bit, and then, we did everything. We didn't just do welding. I was with an old man named Dale Buckner, just great great man. Did
How many years did he put in before
52 years
Damn.
before he retired.
Oof.
Yeah, he'd still be out
That's a
there.
lifer.
He'd still be out there right now if it wasn't for the times we live in.
Yeah, it didn't get squeezed.
Didn't get squeezed. He got squeezed, but he took one of them pretty little severance packages, and he's having fun retirement. So,
Well, that's good.
but yeah, he taught me a ton. Him and Jim Chambers, them and Owen Greer, them three right there. I think I learned more. Should I say that? You learn more on the job than you ever learn in the school that you pay for to go to.
Oh yeah, that School of Hard Knocks is that's the university.
Yeah,
Yeah.
You can get your baccalaureate, you can get your master's right
yeah,
there.
it did. I mean, I went. You know, I tell this story all the time. I was down in a hole welding, raining, water. The water was full of. I was nervous because I don't like electricity at all. And if you touch that pipe and you're wet and you're welding, you're getting bit. And so I'm wadded up, you know, just trying not to touch the pipe. I'm working towards the bottom. And all of a sudden, the world just opened up. Just that hole went away. That weld just blew out, had a big old keyhole in it. I thought, well, what the heck just happened? So I stopped and flipped my hood up, and I looked up at the top of the ditch. And Dale Buckner, he's sitting up on top of the ditch, standing right by my machine. He had cranked the dial all the way over. He said, now fix it. I was like, what the hell? So, yeah.
Why'd you do that to me?
Back in I went. And
So what'd you do? Did you blow through it? Is that
I
what
did. I
happened?
blew a big old keyhole right in the bottom. So he was just testing me to see if I could do it. He didn't hate welders, but they weren't his favorite. So he always give them welders and truck drivers. He give them the hardest time.
We got to give a truck driver a hard time.
Yeah, he give them hard time all the time. Yeah, gosh, man, I could tell stories on that man for days. But I think one of my favorite stories of Dale was we had a big project. We had 6 welders at Waverly Shop. They were all backed in the doors welding, and they'd run out of fittings. Didn't have enough fittings, and they all turned their machines off, stopped. Well, that's something you didn't do with Dale. You stayed working. You better pick up a broom. You better do something because he's going to find you something to do. Well, their helpers had started picking up the floor and sweeping. They just went to sweeping and picking up. And Dale started walking around outside and a bunch of cigarette butts. He said, dump out your rod boxes. So they dumped their rod boxes. He said, now go fill them up with cigarette butts. By gosh, them welders, they all went out there, and every one of them started filling them boxes up with
for
Yeah,
$48
cigarette
an hour.
Yeah, they went to picking cigarette butts up.
Well, it sounded like they respected him. You
Oh,
know?
very much so. That man had respect everywhere he went.
It's how
do
they
you-
ran
how
the
do-
ship.
How do you gain respect?
You earn that.
Yeah,
Yeah, you got to earn that. That's not given.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't say given. How do you gain?
Gain?
Gain.
Gosh, don't be a douche. I mean, respect the person in front of you. I mean,
Yeah,
you know, it's I don't know. That's a tough question, Casey. I mean, there's a lot of ways to answer that, but you know, it just. I mean, you're equals across from each other.
Yeah.
You know, even if a work environment, you're not better than that guy. He's not better than you. You're both just. I mean, you're just there to do your job and do the job. That's a pet peeve of mine. Is not my job.
Don't ever ask somebody to do something that you wouldn't do.
There
yourself,
it is. Yeah.
You know.
And I've always told my guys that on my crews. You know, I've always said, you know, I'm not asking you to do something I don't want to do. I have been in that hole. I have done that. So I'm not asking you to do it because I don't want to do it. But I'll get right down there with you and do it.
We'll do it.
I've got some other things I need to do. So they all respect it. They all, you know, like I got really good crew, wonderful crew. I always have. Every crew I've ever get, they're always really good. So try to keep them as happy as I can.
Yeah. Well, that's how you get a good crew, right? Is you treat them right.
Treat them right, yeah. Respect them and respect their time. Respect their home life. You know, that's a big thing. You know, they got a home life just as everybody else. You know,
Yeah.
Don't try to squeeze every dime out of them.
Right. Like I said, don't ask them to do something that you wouldn't do yourself, because yourself, you want to go home too.
Yeah.
You know.
And you're your brother's keeper out there. Everybody's out there to watch everybody else. You know.
Exactly.
well, it's and especially the field that you're in. As I've mentioned to James, there's zero room for error out there.
Absolutely.
If you mess up that just 1% out of 100, that could cost you your life. So
those small things that everybody thinks won't hurt you are the things that'll hurt you the most.
Yeah.
If you're not watching, if you're not doing everything right, that little thing is going to bite you the most.
Yeah.
It's going to get you the biggest.
It's where you get complacent usually.
Yeah, absolutely, complacency. That's huge. Yeah, over and over. Sleeves. That's a big one. It's repetitive. It's like I say, you put on 680 some feet of it. That is repetitive, and you got to be on your game. You got to. Everybody's got to be at the top of their skills. So, and if you're not, the young kids. That's there's a lot of guys out there that you'll get a green kid that'll come out. I mean, he, as long as he's got heart and wants to try, he's staying. He may not know come here from Sikkim, but I'm gonna try. I'm gonna teach him. I'm gonna work with him until he becomes lazy. Once he's lazy and then he's done, yeah, bye Felicia. Yeah. Yeah. But as long as you're trying and want to learn, you're gonna stay. I'll put up with a lot of crap.
Yeah.
As long as you're trying. So.
Man, that's great. And that's how you make them, right? I mean, you're not getting guys with 20 years experience coming in to apply right now. You've got to take that guy and you got to be patient with him. As long as he's willing to learn.
Yeah, as long as he's willing to learn, as long as he's willing to do everything. And gosh, the young kids today, they're talking back. Good Lord. Just want to smack them like they're your own kid.
Yeah. I've seen that, yeah.
I mean, there's 19-year-old kids and they just talk back like they're, I don't want to say smarter than, but that they know what you're talking about. You're like, dude, you don't even know what I'm talking about. Just shut up. But you got to
just watch.
Yeah, you just got to chew your cud and just
watch.
Work with them.
Yeah.
So, but
that's cool.
Yeah.
Well, Hank, you're what, a farming background then?
Yeah, I farmed. I farm and ranch and family farm there out east of town for it's 4. I think she's going to be 5 generations. We've just kept it together.
Wow.
Done some. My dad was in the dirt contracting business. We done a lot of oil field work for years, for 50-some years. He ran a bulldozer till he was 83.
That's insane. I love that.
He was like that. They always said, they said, well, what's that old man doing out there? And they said, you don't talk bad about that old man. It'll be done before you can get yours unloaded. Because he made every move count. And in the oil field, it's a pretty tough game. It's a lot of, there's no room for error when you're around one of them big drilling rigs, with iron everywhere, And he said you always have to pick out one guy and watch him. If he's setting, you're setting. He said just don't. If he says go, that's the one you go with. Because everybody be waving arms, come over here, go over there, come over here. He said I'm watching one guy, and that's him. He ain't moving. So, but yeah, I mean that it means a lot, for people to pick somebody out, and if you pick the right guy out to follow and to learn off of, you're going to get your education.
Yeah.
And it's all that, I mean, and it's like that in life. I mean, hell, if you pick the right mentor out, you're going to succeed. And if you pick the wrong mentor out, you may go down just like he is. So I mean, it's one of those deals where you got to pick the right guy out to follow, and a lot of people anymore, will maybe get off on the wrong track, so they've picked the wrong damn guy to follow,
Yeah.
And just own if you pick that wrong guy, you better own that mistake and find the right one.
Right, exactly.
Get back up and get back with it.
Yeah, we've spoken about that before. Surround yourself with like-minded people. Right. I've made the mistake in the past where I used to hang out with the not-so-shiny crowd, and you got the yin and the yang, and if you're up higher and the one's lower or vice versa, you're going to end up equalizing out. You'll either be brought down to their level or do. So, man, if you can get those people that are as driven and like-minded as you, just good quality people, you can't do nothing but just make yourself better. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and also just you're speaking of mentors. I mean, find a guy that you look at and you're like, you know what, I'd like to be in his shoes.
Yep.
And learn from him because, and I think I was actually listening to a guy talk about this the other day. He was saying, a lot of times you don't even realize this guy's your mentor. A lot of kids are like, well, I don't have a mentor. I don't have this person. But you just hang around this guy. You work for this guy. You go pick up cigarette butts with your rod box because he's yelling at you to do it. Man, that guy's mentoring you and you don't even know it.
Yeah.
He's telling you to quit sitting on your ass and get to work.
It almost reminds me of the Karate Kid, old Mr. Miyagi. You know,
Yeah.
Wax on, wax off.
You think you're doing just some mundane, but little do you know he's teaching you a valuable lesson and skill.
Right.
That's exactly it.
Exactly.
Them small things.
Yeah.
Huh.
They add up fast in a hurry.
Yes, they do, boy. they'll add up to where you stub your toe too many times and you've kind of blackened it, and you're going to have to find a different suit, shoe, and sock because you might not get to put that one back on anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but no, the farming and ranching thing, it's tough. You kind of pick guys and people feed off of people, like he was saying. Casey was saying, people feed off of people. Because I had an old man tell me one time he was getting ready to cut wheat, and he said, well, when you see the first combine pull in the field, he said you need to book a week-long vacation, and take a vacation for a week. He said then come back and the wheat will be ready, because that first guy pulled in, his wheat's probably a little bit wet, and the elevator docked him a little bit, so he sets a day, and then he tries it the next day, and it's a little bit wet. Well, the guy went on the vacation. He come back. His wheat's good to go all the way. Perfect all the way. He said,
and he's got a suntan.
Yeah. When the combine pull, when you see the first combine pull in the field, take a week's vacation and come back, and it'll be ready. Yeah.
What a lesson that is.
Yeah.
Temptation.
Now, do y'all deal with any livestock, both of you?
Yeah, Hank. Hank
Yeah, I
does
do.
every day. That's every day.
That's
for
my
Hank.
deal.
What kind?
Oh, just a bunch of cows, mainly black cows and Hereford cows, and then some Hereford bulls and some black bulls and all kinds of aggravating bulls. bulls. It's bull time right now. So
Bunch of bullshit.
yeah, a bunch of bullshit, and they can tear up you can make it as stout as you think you can make it, and you can get it tore up. I promise you.
So is that the reason for the water gaps that are out? Because HL come out the other day, helps at the rodeo grounds, and
No,
he says convenient. Dad leaves town, and all the water gaps need fixed.
Yeah, that can happen real easily. You can see it's bad. Then if you kind of keep them sucked away from the water gap till the Saturday that he's available,
There it is.
go fix that water gap
What's a water gap?
between a creek or
Creek.
where the water
they
goes.
can get
Yeah.
across. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, they're a pain in the ass.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they are.
Yeah,
They're a
pain.
never-ending battle. You
Yeah.
fix those all the time.
Yeah, anybody that thinks they've got got a good patent on water gaps, they need to really sell it, because I've seen a lot of different styles and none of them really work.
I personally think every water gap design that anybody makes needs to be put on Bodock Creek somewhere.
Yeah, and they'll watch it
Test
out.
it. And try that. Just
Yeah.
try it.
That'd
And
be
you worry
good.
about brush and all that stuff.
Everything.
Yeah.
Everything you could think of. I grew up on Bodock Creek. Everything you could think of, we'd find in that creek as kids.
Yeah,
We'd find people's boats. Everything we'd find in that creek. And every water gap, we had 4 water gaps on that place.
and
Every time.
the goal is to let the water go through and the fence will stay.
That never happens.
Well, that don't ever happen. So the theory is you just put a bigger post in the ground. So that works for a little while, and then everything breaks in the middle. But then what happens when the post goes out?
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, every water gap needs everybody thinks they've got the patent on them water gaps. I ain't seen none of them.
Well, you've seen the tsunamis on TV when that water comes out, then it comes back in and it picks up cars.
Hell, I saw one of those here in 2019.
Yeah, but instead of it being the not the volume, but let's just say the water going through the fences, when you have a big dense object coming through, it's just nothing but a battering ram.
Yeah, you get a tree that's floating that's the size of a house coming down through there. It's taking everything with it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
And it's got all the little trees stacked up around it. There's a wad of crap coming.
yeah, you can't.
It'll take a bridge with it.
Mother Nature's force. You can't. You can live with it, but you can't control it. I mean, they can say what they want, but dams is only going to last so long. Something's going to go south with them. roads, whatever it is. You can control it and live with it, but you can't control it. You just got to learn how to live with it.
Yeah.
You know.
Like mom's place, that place I was talking about. She had a guy come out and she wanted a crossing to cross from one side to the other, get to her little pond. She thought it'd be a good idea to put a dam across that, because up there at her place, Bodog Creek splits and cuts the property. Well, that side that she wanted to split was a side that's just overflow, and she had that guy come in there and push that deal across there with a dozer, and I pulled up and I said, that thing will not be here after the first rain. He goes, oh no, it will be. I made her wide and big. Mm-hmm. I was like, you just took my mom's money. That's all you did.
There's that 1,500.
Yeah, and it wasn't the first rain. I went out there and that sucker was gone.
Damn it!
There wasn't. You couldn't even tell he'd been there, other than the trees he pushed out.
Yeah, there's going to be a nice little pond right here. Oh yeah, where it happened to that?
Yeah, it was history. Yeah,
he
just gathered up mom's money and went to the house. That's all that was.
That's like our rodeo grounds out there. We get that water, and we've got the arena draining actually right now really good. We've got just a little bit of a crown in there, and it's going out, kind of draining to the south. But I mean, it's a never-ending deal to keep that thing doing that. The other day, you got to stay on it all the time.
Yeah, the other day I was out there, and after that inch and a half rain in 15 minutes that we had north of town, that stuff, that was wonderful. That place out there drained off. The whole place drained off.
Really?
Looks like y'all have been doing a ton of work out there.
Oh man, we have been constantly working out there. The cities.
What if they put $1 million into that arena this year? Close to it?
It's pretty close, yeah. I bet by the time, because the original quote was $800,000, and they've done a lot more out there. So
and our fence
probably close. Yeah, you add our fence on top of that. Yeah, we put in half of our fence, 8-foot fence, all the way halfway around it. Got a brand new concert area.
Yeah, we bid off quite a lot this past year, and it started last year, the Sunday after the last performance.
Yeah,
I mean, it started right then, and we've been what you'd say assholes and elbows ever since. We got the bleachers out, the old ones, and that was kind of a deal. And then once we got them out, we got the other ones in, and then we'd find some other little deal we'd have to do, and we'd get it done. And then
one thing
led to another, and there wasn't just no place to stop. So
yeah,
I told somebody the other day, I said, out there, I said, we're really doing a lot. I said, surely, maybe next year, we can just kind of open the gates and have a rodeo, but I just don't think it'll happen. We'll find something to do.
Oh, come on now.
We'll find something to do.
Yeah,
well,
we'll find something else.
Y'all have set the bar.
Yeah. You gotta keep going. If you let your foot off the gas, you're gonna dive.
You either move forward or you move backwards.
Exactly.
Right? Yeah.
I don't know anything about flying an airplane, but this is what I think about flying an airplane. If you're not throttling into this sucker and you let out of it, it's probably gonna nosedive.
Yeah, Cory don't want to be no hang glider.
No. I want to keep the gas on.
Things goes down.
Yeah, I want to keep the gas on and keep going. Bring something to Ponca City every year that, man, if we could, that's not been here. I mean, I went and said it. I said it on the radio the other day, and I'm going to say it again. I don't think that Ponca City has ever had a concert that we're fixing to put on out there.
No
Production-wise, it's huge. I mean, we've got Crazy Heart Sound and Lighting that
22 times music director of the year for the PRCA.
I'm talking the stage that rolled in yesterday, come in on a semi. He backed her in there, and it folds out to 32 foot wide and 24 foot wide, 30 some foot long.
Wow.
It goes. It's high. It's going to have lights galore. It's going to be huge.
What kind of performers are you having there?
So Thursday night's Ben Burgess. Mm-hmm. Friday night is Chancey Williams, and Saturday night is Dylan
Carmichael.
And let's see, is it Chancey Williams and Dylan Carmichael that are coming straight from
Nashville
at the come on,
Country
Hank.
Music Fest.
Yeah,
it
is CMA Fest.
CMA, wow, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, CMA Fest. Yeah, it's wonderful. All three of them wonderful artists. They've all just ever since we've booked them, they've just grown huge.
Really?
It's absolutely wonderful, and we're excited for. I mean, the rodeo, gosh dang, it's funny. I mean, Hank's rodeo. I mean, we're all rodeo. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying anything about that, but I want to say this because I always talk about the concert and I always talk about what's going on at the grounds. But we hire the best of the best for that rodeo to put on that rodeo. Our announcers, two-time, he's 22 announcer of the year.
Two-time announcer of the year, and that's the first time any announcer has won the announcer of the year through the PRCA, and that goes back, to the early 50s, and he is really good, and he's a fairly local guy. He's from Collinsville, Oklahoma, and he was come up through, he got his start as a public speaker with the FFA, and he was the state FFA president and was very well spoken in public speaking, and really found him a good home.
Oh yeah, Garrett.
Calling the rodeos.
Garrett Yergens, who we're talking about, and he, before he actually, he was old enough to get his PRCA card. For a while, I think now you have to have your PRCA card to be a music director, but at that time you didn't have to have your PRCA card to be a music director. So we hired Garrett. Gosh, what was that when he was? He wasn't even old enough to drive. His mom 16, and dad brought him. He 15, was 15, 16. He come over and did the music for our rodeo until he was old enough to get his PRCA card and start announcing. As soon as he got his PRCA card, we were the first ones to hire him, but we weren't his first rodeo. 2 weeks before ours is Mount Pleasant.
I'm sorry, this ain't my first rodeo.
Right.
Yeah, it worked. That kind of rolled, didn't it?
Yeah.
So
no pun intended.
But no, he's been wonderful. When you hire the best, you get Benji Bendelay and Garrett and Sammy Andrews and Dave and Don Petty, and it just I'm just coming from my aspect.
When you walk with the best, in all aspects, you should be the best.
Yeah, I mean, you hire all these guys, you bring all these guys in, and from my point, I mean, Hank's in the arena. He's our arena director, so he is in that arena. He lives that arena. He's in that arena from the time it starts to the time it stops. Mm-hmm. Me, I'm buzzing around outside of it because I know I got guys like Hank and all them other guys in the arena. I don't have to focus on that arena. It's something I never have to worry about. Yeah, because I know them guys are going to do that so good. They don't have. There's no worries there. I mean, they do what they do every weekend, and so I focus on the entertainment aspect. It's not just a rodeo anymore. It's a show. It's an entertainment.
It's an experience.
An experience. You gotta keep everybody on the edge of their seats. You gotta, when that firecracker goes off, where's the next one coming from? Mm-hmm. You gotta constantly be moving the wheel, and seeing what's coming next. And I think that's kind of where, I know I do. I mean, I try to focus on all the wheels turning on the outside because I know the wheels on the inside, they're not coming off the track. So I don't have to worry about that.
Yeah, we hope.
Yeah. So, yeah.
So what's obviously the 101 rodeo has some serious lore to it. I mean, was at one point literally the biggest show probably in the world.
Well, it was the Wild West show. Yeah. You had the 101, you had Pawnee Bills, you had Buffalo Bill Cody. You had those three big shows, and there was probably some small spin-off ones that were scattered around the country. But they done, the 101 would do Madison Square Garden. They would do, San Francisco. They would, they had a train. It was like the circus.
Barnum and Bailey.
Barnum and Bailey. Yeah. I mean, they'd have a train and they'd go spend. But I mean, it was taking the West to the numbers. Because people you'd see in the newspapers, they'd see things that Buffalo Bill Cody shot all these buffalo. Well, what was the first thing? They said, let's take the West to the people. Mm-hmm. So that's where the rodeo kind of got its start, and the 101 was the first one to show this off. Yeah. And their first show at Bliss, which was Marland, which is Marland,
to our out-of-state listeners is right here.
Just right here.
Right down the road.
I mean, there was like 130,000 people there, and you had to ride trains, and you just didn't hop in the car and go to Marland.
There was 130,000 people.
130,000 for like a weekend,
crazy.
and where they all came from and stayed, and how hard it was for them to get there. It's just amazing that many people would come to a show like that. But that was the deal. I mean, the governor was there. I mean, big things was happening, and the 101, the Miller brothers, actually was the first ones to do a live action movie, with the television screen.
Really?
Yeah, they filmed. That was the first. That was one of the first films that was ever filmed, was on the 101.
That's insane.
Yeah, so the history of this runs really, really deep, here with the 101 Ranch Rodeo. And, we're just trying to preserve as much history as we can, with having this and keeping the legacy alive.
Yeah. Trying to keep it going.
And we do so much, there's just so many aspects of trying to do everything, getting support, from the town and everything else. But, it's really, we're trying to keep the legacy alive and promote the Western way of life, because so many people have, somewhat got away from that, and we're trying to bring that back, with Chancey Williams. He's a Wyoming guy. He's one of two guys that actually had a PRCA card and CMA guy.
Ask me who it was.
Okay.
Yeah, come
Who
on,
was
let's
it?
hear it.
This old hat, old Chris Ledoux.
Chris Ledoux. There you go. There you
The
go.
white line getting longer.
I wish we videoed our podcast just to show the whole build up. You just
get the whole
you were
feel,
shaking,
yeah.
you were like, please,
Pick me, I know.
That's
He
that's
knew that
awesome.
trivia question.
Well, I looked him up, man. That's awesome.
Yeah.
That history, man. That losing touch with history. It seems like the older we get, the more in tune with history. You know what I mean? God, I wish I would ask my old man this. God, I wish I would ask my grandpa that. God, and
I wish these podcasts were around 10 years ago.
Oh, absolutely.
yeah.
I do too.
I mean, if
we
I
could have
wish this was
captured.
the things that we could the people that Holton Payne's one that
He would have been one.
I would have loved to have heard a podcast with that man, because
Is that a Fairfax?
Scheidler.
Shidler.
Yeah,
Just to
yeah.
set
That's right.
No
and-
pain, yeah.
Just to sit in his house and let just him tell stories for
Yeah.
days. I mean, you'd be there 2 hours, felt like he was there 30 minutes.
Yeah,
you
it
know?
never would have got to the end of. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it was never ending.
Never ending. So, yeah, you go there every day for 2 years and have a different story.
Yeah.
Be like a Joe Rogan podcast, just like 6 hours long,
Yeah. Yeah. It's just guys like that, there's probably a bunch more that would just be, just like it.
Never look at your watch the whole conversation.
No, yeah, you're just glued.
Yeah, you're just chatting,
Yeah. So,
But-
it's,
Well, I mean, you think about 10 years ago, how many World War II veterans were still around
Right.
10 years ago? They were still sharp and, cognitive enough that they could really
we
portray
had,
that.
absolutely.
They're few and far between now.
we had a school project. I can't remember if I was in high school or middle school or whatever it was, but it was, go interview somebody from, World War II. And I thought, well, this is just silly. Now looking back at that, I'm like, golly, I wish
I
I'd
could have
done
found
better.
somebody.
I did. My uncle, he was, and I mean, I wish I'd have just paid more attention. I was just doing it just to get the grade and move on,
Yeah.
Now I'm like, man, I wish I'd have just sat there and listened a little bit more, but I didn't.
No, and and like he said, the older you get, the more appreciative of
yeah.
history gets, but the history is if you don't pick it up right now, you're going to lose it.
Yeah.
History's being made all the time, but you gotta pick it up and let it soak in, I guess, so you can have it for the next day, because it's a big deal. But yeah, the rodeo is we're doing everything we can to make Ponca City really proud of what we're doing. We're trying to like Cory said, we're trying to be innovative, for the next year. We're already talking about guys to try to get here for next year, but it's a chore. It's a chore to try and think up new things, bigger and better things.
You know, something that, probably didn't, think about. How long you been on the board first? Let's start there, Hank. How long you been on this board?
Oh, it's 20-some,
I thought-
26, 25 years.
so.
Long dadgum time.
Yeah.
Enjoyed it, though.
But when the first time you was on there, first rodeo with the 101, and I never would. I mean, even my 13 years, I think 14 years, something like that. I never would have thought about people coming from Maine or New York or Florida or anywhere in between. And now, we've got people that are coming. They plan their vacations to come to the rodeo now.
Really?
We see people all over. With our online ticketing sales now that. Well, they're all over the place. You got churches that are coming from Nebraska, I think it was.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, there's people that are. I mean, I've had multiple calls of people that'll call and just say, "Oh, that's a gold buckle snap."
Casey just opened the old Yellow Belly, the official beer of blue collar people.
Blue collar people.
Yeah, but yeah, it's a I guess the goal now. I mean, I don't know how to say a goal, but make the 101 in Ponca City a somewhere that people want to spend their vacation, their summer, their second weekend in June, and just come to Ponca City and spend it. We got lots to do around Ponca City. The surrounding area, Ponca City, not just Ponca City, K County, Osage County. There's a
ton
lot
of
you
stuff
can
to do in
within an
north
hour of
central
this place.
Oklahoma.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. And and a little thing that we've just learned, Ponca City is the largest 3-day rodeo in the state of Oklahoma.
Yeah,
Oh, really?
Get some
I didn't know
research on that one.
Yeah. We our purse money that we put up for the people that come to the rodeo is the largest 3-day rodeo in the state. So, I mean, we've got a lot of things to be proud about, and we're still, we're wanting more. I mean, there's no reason we can't be one of them super shootout series. So, but we just need to keep making the city, or and the community appreciate what we're doing.
I don't. It's something I've had a lot of conversations mainly this year, and I don't know why this year it's been so hard and heavy that I've had to have this conversation so many times with people. But do you guys realize that our rodeo's a pro rodeo, and what that means?
I knew it was a pro rodeo. I don't know what that means.
So, in the aspect of the respected fields, let's just say the NFL, the NBA, all those. Of the rodeo world and the Western world, this is the NFL, the NBA.
Yeah.
These guys do this for a living. They go up and down the road every single day. And at the end, I mean, what's Stetson right? He is last year at the NFR, after he got done with the NFR, was almost $1 million.
Almost $1 million cowboy.
$1 million cowboy in 1 year, one single year.
And it wasn't 15 years ago. 20 years ago. They was, we had guys, that finally got to $1 million.
Wow.
So I mean, the rodeo business has came a long way,
and it has, and that's right here in Ponca City. I don't think people ought to realize that there's. I looked at the day sheet, just glanced at it right before we started this because the day sheet popped in my email, and I think I counted 8 world champions that'll be at Ponca City this year.
Wow.
Last year there was 14 world champions last year, so I mean, there's a ton of people on that list that pushing 500 contestants that'll be in Ponca City this year.
Wow.
And that and the dollars they win, the Super Bowl of rodeo is Las Vegas, for 10 days, first weekend in December, first week of December, I mean, the money they win here counts to that.
Yep.
So and I mean, our money is not to be laughed at. I mean, it's not a $300 first. I mean,
so yeah.